This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Tiger Plumbing. Whether you need to replace a faucet, overhaul your sump pump, or desludge your drains, call Tiger Plumbing. In today's world, knowing who's at your door is important. Tiger Plumbing sends you your technician's photo, estimated time of arrival, and a little bit about him or her. Hey, Sam likes fishing and camping. Cool.
Hello, we're here at Greenwich Juice Bar and Cafe in beautiful Highland, Indiana. Our guest today is Diane Maginot. Did I get that right? Awesome. And she's here to tell us a kind of, in a way, a horror story about what she's been through in her life, but how she's also kind of inspired a lot of people, and she's helped a lot of people along that have gone through difficult times. So welcome to our show.
Yes.
Thank you.
Kind of excited to have you here to hear about some of the positive things that you've done and helped people out. So why don't we start out and tell us first of all where you're from and maybe where you went to school and how you came to be here.
I was born in Crown Point. I went to school first in Maribel, and then I was raised in St. John, and I went to school at Lake Central High School.
Ah, all right. Cool. And
you know my dear friends, Paul and Angie Lowe.
They sound familiar?
They were in charge of the drama group and everything, and she taught French. She was a French teacher.
They sound
so
familiar, but I'm not really
you'd
sure.
probably know them if you saw them.
I'm
Well,
very, very, very blessed.
yeah, it is. You overcame 3 accidents. Why don't you tell us about those accidents, when they happened to you, and what happened?
When I was 10 years old, I was getting off the bus to go home, and when I dropped my book. And when I bent down to pick it up, there was a fight on the bus at the same time, and my bus driver turned around to break it up. When he turned back around, he didn't see me and assumed that I had gone inside. But really, I was spinning down in front of the school bus when he started driving. Immediately, I was knocked underneath the bus, doing flip after flip. But thank God the tires didn't run me over. At one point, the tires started running over my clothes, and I was so scared. But I felt kind of like this gust of wind out of nowhere come and move me to the front of to the middle of the bus where I stayed the whole time. And then when I was 18, I was on my way to my friend's house, and I was in a car accident. The seatbelt cut in my neck and severed my carotid artery. This caused me to have multiple massive strokes. I was given 52 hours to live, and I was in a coma for 2 weeks. And then when I came out of that coma, I was told that I would never walk or be normal again. When I was 33, I was walking down the street when I was hit by a car.
Well,
But you proved them wrong,
yeah,
because you walk
Yep.
beautifully in some gorgeous boots, by the way. If you could see her boots, you'd be jelly, because they're really hot.
First time I've actually worn
it's
boots
just-
in a long time.
this is not a sexist statement, but that is so female. It's talk about an accident, but then turn immediately, but she has good shoes on.
But she's got hot boots, so yeah, exactly.
Passed by an
minorities.
accident. Passed by accident. We notice how bad the accident goes. Oh, but she's got good shoes
I
on.
never do that. Oh, for goodness sake. He's such a liar.
Not far from the truth, though. So why don't you talk about your rehabilitation process and what it's taken you to get to where you're at now? And you're walking. They said you couldn't walk, and you are walking. And why don't you talk about each one of these and talk about what you had to go through to recover?
Well, when I was when I was in my second car accident, they flew me to not Chicago, but they flew me to someplace in Illinois to get better or to save my life. But then when I was well enough to come back here, My dad had worked at community hospital, and they had just opened a new rehab, so they had had me transferred there. And it's kind of funny the way they helped me so much. They didn't even realize they were helping me, because when I was first transferred there was a nurse there that, I was a brat. I was 18 years old, just became paralyzed. I was a complete brat. And she had looked at me, she goes, "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" And I looked back at her and said, "Yeah, I'm hungry." And she looked at me and she goes, "Well, I got some Red Lobster in the back. I'll just go pull it back and give it to you." I was like, "Okay." So when she came back, she had a sandwich. And I looked at her and she's like, I started crying and she's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Well, I thought you were bringing me Red Lobster." And she looked at me and she said, "Well, when you walk out of here, I will take you to Red Lobster." And she didn't realize she was doing it, but I caught onto it. When you walk out of here.
Yeah.
And they never gave me false hope, but it was when you walk out of here, or not if, when you walk out of here. I caught onto that, and I worked hard in a walk just because of that. And then I love to write poetry, because every single poem I write, it comes from my heart and it gets my feelings out. And every single day they'd have somebody else from the rehab come to see what poetry I had wrote that day.
Yeah.
And be like, "Okay, what feelings did you get out? What poetry did you write today?" And it was so neat. They even had me write a poetry for a contest they were having for a physical therapy week, and so they came to me and asked me to write a poem for them. And I don't remember what the beginning of that poem was, because it was 25 years ago, almost 25 years. But I remember the end of it, because everybody was excited just because the end of it. And it said, and I remember the beginning of it was, "I'm in a rehab, I'm paralyzed, I'm this, I'm that." And this plainly, well, I'm not going to say that word. But,
we know.
and at the end of it, it said, "And one day I will walk out of here." So I was just so motivated to walk at that time.
Okay, so the word you weren't going to say, what did it start with?
S.
Okay. We all know what it is.
Yeah, Kelly's actually said that word a couple of times in our show, so
But
don't look so innocent.
But at that time, I wrote a couple of poems that had gotten published,
Great.
and it was just awesome that they were so into my life. I had nicknames for all of the nurses. They would come. No, none of them were bad. They would all come and they called me their brat. And they would, every single night after everybody went to bed, they would come and sneak in at that time was VHS player. And they would sneak in a VHS player, and then my mom would bring in popcorn, and then my best friend would come and stay the night every night, and we'd watch a movie.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was their brat.
But for those of the millennials that are watching, this is a video player. It's
It's like
pre-DVD.
YouTube, but it's like a huge box, and you had to put these things called cassettes in it to play them.
Yeah, it's kind of like YouTube with a crank. Yeah.
I heard a story last week, and somebody's dad had asked, he was playing a record, and somebody's son had asked his dad, "Well, what's that?" And his son looked and said, "That's the biggest CD I've ever seen."
These kids nowadays have no idea what we used to have to go through. The cassette tapes, 8-track tapes, which is probably part of your day. Yeah. Oh,
I was a
good Lord.
gamer, so I'll say Atari.
Well, so that's your stay at the hospital, and then you got a feeling when you left the hospital, even though they were telling you the possibility of you walking,
Well-
you were bound and determined.
Yeah. Well, when I did walk, they threw me a party too.
Oh, that's great.
Cool.
And then,
Did you get to Red Lobster?
No, actually, she still owes me a trip to Red Lobster.
You heard it here, people.
And every
Yeah.
single time I ask her, she brings up another nurse who says, "Well, we're supposed to all go together." But she still owes me a trip to Red Lobster.
There you go.
Got it.
I'd call her out on that.
We
I
just
do
did.
every single time
We
I
just
see her.
did.
All right.
She still works there, so I do every
If you
single
want to
time.
mention her name, go right ahead.
No, I'm not mentioning any names.
So, all through these accidents, what type of support did you get from
I
your?
didn't talk about the third one.
Oh, the third one?
Oh, yeah. Tell us
Go
about
ahead
that
and
one.
tell us about the third one.
The third one, rehabilitation, was actually the hardest. When I say the car hit me, it didn't actually hit me. The mirror hit me with in my head, but my head took off the mirror of the car.
Oh,
So they found me spun around when it hit me, I was spun around laying in a puddle that they found me in. And that accident, what it did was intensify the 6 prior brain injuries. And I was horrible. I would cry. I couldn't stop crying. You talk to me and I would just scream at you just for you talking to me. And I had the worst ADHD they've ever seen. You'd start talking to me about a house, I would start talking about a horse. Or you could start talking to me about this table, and I'd be talking about a car that's in New York or someplace like that. It was horrible.
Sounds like conversations Kelly.
a lot of times, yes.
I thought it was normal, but Go ahead,
So
I'm sorry.
There's nothing they could do for me, and I'd already been paralyzed. I didn't want this on top of that, so they sent me to New York, where I did rehab for 5 years, and this rehab was the most intensive rehab I had ever had, and the hardest rehab I had ever had. Because I was already paralyzed, they sent me to physical therapy to try and get my body back, and then to occupational therapy to get my arm back. But the hardest thing was the cognitive therapy that they had there. I spent in total 8 hours every single day, Monday through Friday, in therapy. And I couldn't have friends. I definitely didn't date. And it was so hard that I would cry every single day. When I went to bed, I would cry myself to sleep because I just wanted to quit. I just wanted to come home. I did try to come home. In fact, I ordered an airplane ticket. It didn't come. I ordered a train ticket. That didn't come. So I ordered a bus ticket, and it got lost someplace. So I said, okay, well, I'm
The
stuck.
universe sending you some messages,
Yeah.
I think.
So I was saying, okay, I'm stuck here. So then I stayed, but then it was funny. I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit therapy. And I tried to quit, and then a song came on, which was I Won't Back Down. So, and that song motivated me. That's my favorite song. It's by Tom Petty, but I
Yeah.
Won't Back Down. And I love that song. No matter what, I'm gonna stand up and fight. So, or the movie Facing the Giants. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And right there, I don't know if you've seen that, but the scene where the guy's on the ground crawling with somebody on his back. You said you seen it? Where the guy's on the ground crawling with somebody on his back, and the coach is kneeling, crawling with him, going, "You can't quit, you can't quit. It's all heart." That motivated me into saying, "I can't quit." So I continued, and eventually was able to come home. I was able to get my brain well enough. I'm not perfect, but I don't expect to be perfect.
Nobody is.
But
Seriously.
no, I mean with my brain injuries.
But I'm saying, everybody has their
Yep,
issues,
that's
you know.
Kelly has to live with me, so she's totally understanding of
Yes, I
issues.
totally understand what it's like to be around somebody who has some brain issues.
That was too funny.
Why are you laughing so hard?
kindred souls. I can tell right away.
I'm sorry, but I'm thinking about you and thinking about getting her back.
Oh, he'll have no trouble doing that.
That's what I was laughing at.
I know.
So, but that was the hardest therapy I have ever been through. It was, I shouldn't laugh at that, but I'm sorry, it was
No. Oh man. So
it was, they even made it, what they did was, they came in, basically, they found out every single day what was wrong with my brain, how it needed to be worked on, which they could have done that part here, but what they didn't know is what needed to be better. And what could they do to make it better. My brain was so messed up at that point with yelling and with screaming and being mean to people. I mean, I would be on the street and call people names. I had no fun at all.
So, you told me when we were going through prior to the interview, for talking on the phone, you mentioned something like you had to retrain your brain because only a certain portion of it is functional.
Yes, I have, well, at the time when I was in the second car accident, they said that, or they told me that I had literally half a brain. And then over the years, Chicago watched it retraining itself, and then it eventually came into a huge hole in my brain. So, but how I did that was I'd pretend that it was actually working, and my parts around my brain that aren't supposed to be working started working for that part of the brain, which back then was not known for. So.
And what hospital were you at on this third one?
And the third one I went to NYU.
NYU, okay. Man. And how long did you spend in rehab
About that one? About 4 or 5 years.
Man.
It's a long time to be away from friends and family.
Yes, well, I was in a homeless shelter at that time too.
Oh,
So that made it harder.
Yeah.
But especially in New York.
yeah.
But it made me stronger. I climbed that mountain and I got through it. So, and I learned a lot of lessons while climbing it. I didn't get through it when I just changed. So I changed on my journey to it. So.
Yeah, and that's one thing I noticed, that you had a little video that you put together about climbing mountains.
Yes.
The 3 mountains that you
Yes.
climbed. So that was kind of interesting. Did you have that up on YouTube, or is it?
It's a private video, so
Okay.
it's part of my speeches that I'm trying to give. So you can't actually see it unless I send it to you.
Yeah.
It's part of my motivational speaking. It's about my first mountain, second mountain, and third mountain, and some mountains might be rugged, some jagged, but it's how you might not even get to the top of your mountain, but during that time you change.
Right.
You might, and so it's one of the reasons why I wanted to help people so much, because a lot of people think that they have to reach the top of their mountain. And during that video, what I talk about is that every single mountain that we go through is just the same. It doesn't matter how easy it is. It's just the same and hard for everybody.
And also, do you find that some of the people you talk to, that after they talk to you and hear your story, all of a sudden what they went through seems minuscule?
Well, yeah,
And
just
they somehow
Sorry.
found perspective. No, it's all right.
yeah. Well, just today I was talking to a lady and I was telling her my story, and out of nowhere she looked at me. She's like, "Thank you," and I was like, "Why are you thanking me?" She goes, "'Cause you just helped me," and she went on to tell me what was going on in her life, and it makes me feel so good. And she said, "You don't know who you're gonna help by that story."
Yeah.
So.
That's because that, and a lot of times, just a little story of mine that I had a bone spur in my neck, and it was so high that they had to have a pretty top-end neurosurgeon operate on it. What changed, and I was going, oh poor me, all the way in, what's going to happen to me. But in the waiting area, the prep, the surgery waiting area, a person with brain tumor that was not expected to make it through the surgery was next to me. And all these people were intense brain situations. And here I am, I'm like, gosh, I just have a bone spur. I immediately, being around those people changed my perspective, what was going on with me, and just, felt completely a different attitude towards what I was going through. So that was helpful for me, and I imagine after people hear your story, but then also you being able to console them and help them through. So.
And there's people that, when I first got called to speaking, and I knew that I wanted to be a motivational speaker, I was called to go to Chicago rehab, where there's only a floor of paralyzed teenagers, and I went to every single room to talk to them. And at the end, last room, I was fine at all the other rooms because they were more like me, just struggling, just regular rehab, but the last room that I had talked in, or went to talk to, were two quadriplegic boys. They were 13 years old. And it just broke my heart to talk to them. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, that's fine.
It changed my perspective. And the only thing I could do was ask God not to see the tears coming out of my eyes as I talked to them. I didn't know what else to do, because how else can I motivate them? How else, if they, all I could say is, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't, but all I was thinking was that these boys are never going to be able to grow up and get a job. These boys are never going to be able to drive. I hope it's okay to say this, but these boys are never even going to be able to have sex. You can edit that out if you want.
No. See, we're not under broadcast. This is all social media.
Yes.
So yeah, and you've seen what happens on social media.
You're right.
This is G-rated compared to what.
So it broke my heart. But what I learned from it is, I never to that day felt sorry for myself for being paralyzed. There is always, no matter what, somebody worse off than you.
But to know that your story can motivate people and give them hope and help them through hard times is a wonderful, wonderful gift to be able to give. And I think that's wonderful. Just beautiful.
Yeah. And one thing that I wanted to talk to you about is you're extremely active. I mean, you volunteer at church.
Yes, very active. I can't.
Yeah, in fact, when I met you at church this weekend, you're saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got to go volunteer," and then you're gone, and I'm like, "Okay." But
sorry about
no,
that.
no, totally understandable, But that's. Yeah. Hey, blame it on the driver, which it probably was, right? To take a look at what you go through, and that's inspirational in itself. You're remaining active, and you're actually helping people out. So talk more about, especially going back to your rehab. Gosh, you were in New York 5 years.
Yes.
Without family.
Yes.
And so you really.
I can't say without family, because I did meet some friends. Like my friend, I had dated him a little bit in New York, maybe
a New
for
Yorker?
Maybe for like a month. And but it didn't work out, obviously.
Was his name Don?
It's wrong. But
I'm sorry, I didn't.
anyways, he ended up being my best friend, and now he was my best friend when I was there, and now I call him my brother, and I consider him my brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, some New Yorkers can be pretty people.
Well, most of them actually are,
Yes,
but
they
they're
are.
actually too
Yeah.
paranoid of you to actually be a decent person.
Oh, I know. When you put, and I just jest, but when you put that many people that close together, they're different personalities. Yeah. It's like Canadians. They go up there, they start wearing plaid shirts and, talking weird. But yeah, in New York, they talk a lot faster and because
Actually, they don't talk
she's
too
always
weird.
New Yorkers?
Yeah. the way you, well, I can't say anything because I say New York a little bit weird to you, probably.
Well, because you lived there for a while.
Yeah. But actually,
I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate mail after this. In fact, we just penetrated the Canadian market, and
I have a lot of people in New York who are
unsubscribe.
Exactly.
Sorry, okay? All right.
But they actually, the one big thing that I noticed is when I started saying pop. When I said pop. So, because I remember I was at my friend's, how I got to New York is I had met my friend online, and she was really, really, really super nice, and she flew me there and let me live with her. And let me live with her for a very short period of time. So we were sitting there eating dinner, and her husband, I said, can I have some more pop? And you know how when you say pop, it says pop, pop.
Yeah.
So he's like, you want some more pop, pop? I was like, yes. And he's like, you want some pop? I was like, yes. He goes, well, we have no pop. And I pointed to the pop. He's like, you want some soda?
That's, yeah.
And I was like, who doesn't know that pop and soda are the same thing? So it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
No, but
For a lot of things.
So you did have some support out there.
Oh yeah, I
You're
had a lot of support.
Oh,
In
that's
fact,
good.
we call her my mom. And she calls me her white daughter.
Oh man.
So, but I had a lot of support when I was there.
Yeah.
They all became
family by choice.
to me.
Yes.
Right.
Family
Yeah,
by choice.
yes.
Those are the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and then fast forward, and you come back here.
Well, I went to Virginia first before
Virginia,
New York.
okay.
Yes.
Right.
Then I had really no support there, and that's
Yeah.
what got me to come back. I really did not want to come back to Indiana. I really don't like Indiana. Even in New York, it's cold. It's warmer than Indiana.
Yeah, it's more moderate. Where they don't have the extremes.
Well, unless
and
you're
Well, they
in
don't have the
Buffalo or
wind.
something.
Oh, well,
I mean,
yeah.
You go up
Yeah.
to the northern part, yeah, you'll freeze.
Yeah. Well, you'll get also like 12 feet of snow.
Exactly.
If you go up there, because it's a mountain.
Yeah.
So what do you see in the future? You're wanting to continue this ministry of yours, right? And continue helping people and
Yes.
inspiring them. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your Facebook page? You have a Facebook page.
Yes.
That you've got some inspirational things that you put up there.
Yes.
And,
Well, I definitely want to continue with my motivational speaking. I don't want to go to school to get a degree in counseling. I could, and I could easily get it. But I think that it's more important that I help people being able to bond with them. I have a lot of my therapists from New York or from Indiana. After my therapy, we've become friends. And we have more of a bonding like that than we did in therapy. So I think it's very important for me not to get a degree because they inspired me not, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but I'm writing a book too. It's called A Glimpse of God's Grace. And it's going to be my car accidents were just a very, very small part of what I went through. A lot more of it was emotional, which I talk about in my book, but I won't talk about it anywhere else. It's just too hard, and I don't want to hurt anybody else.
Yeah.
And so, but I want to get that published. So I'm also planning on walking better. 5 years ago, I met a person who helped me get out of my brace, and he put me in. Well, he tried putting me in therapy, but he wouldn't put me. He couldn't get me there. Had already been through too much therapy, but now I actually have a therapist. His name's Jake, and he's awesome. He's actually teaching me how to walk and getting me out of my pattern after 24 years. And it's awesome because I had never believed that somebody would believe in me, that I could do it. So I definitely want to get my walking better. And I also went to the guy who helped me get out of my brace, Brian. We're supposed to I might start working for him to help motivate his people too.
Yeah. So when you talk about a brace, explain. I have an idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
But it's almost like a half body brace to keep your back in line over your legs, right?
No. Okay, a
it's not
brace
what I'm
is
thinking
called
of.
it's called, okay, can I go back to what a
Yeah,
brace
go
is?
ahead. Go, feel free to.
Okay, when I first became paralyzed, they put me in this brace. This is what's called an AFO. And the brace, it was huge. It was, and what it did is hold my foot into place. And so, and I baked. I couldn't wear a pair of tennis shoes. I couldn't do anything. And so, I couldn't even walk to the store with that because it burnt my foot. It pounded in. Well, you can imagine what a plastic thing would be.
Right.
So
this is just on your foot then?
Yeah, it was only on my foot. Well,
okay.
on my, it came down. You see where the walk aid is? It came down from here all the way to my foot.
Okay.
But it really hurt me because I love to walk, and walking is very important to me. I didn't, because they told me I would never walk. So you can imagine how much I love to walk.
Oh yeah.
So so I would walk like a mile to 5 miles every single day. Nothing was going to stop me. Even in New York, I walked now I'm saying New York like you were.
Hey, it's okay. We're being very open-minded on this show. So yeah, that's because that's a lot of pushing and shoving in there. That's like
But even there, I was able to walk. But 5 years ago, when I came back from New York or Virginia, actually to Indiana, I couldn't walk. Can I talk about my walking for a minute?
Oh yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. I couldn't walk 5 years ago. Every single time I took a step, I think it's because all the walking I did in New York, you have to stop now I have to stop saying a word from somebody in Indiana.
Just take your time, it's all good.
No, I'm just joking with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, I love to walk, but when I came back here, I'd take a step. Well, let me go backwards a little bit. My foot started having bunions all over it, trying to protect my bones from the brace. And they just told me, well, get another brace, your foot's going to get better. And then it never did. And I didn't have anybody believe that it would get better either. And okay, I'll go back to shoes. I just wanted to wear yes. Well, I just wanted to be.
Yeah, all about shoes. Shoes and purses.
Well, no, I just wanted to be able to wear a pair of tennis shoes.
Yeah. Just a normal pair of shoes like everyone else.
Instead of these big clods.
Yeah, like boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have that. So it's
they
not
look
really,
like moon boots, right?
So it's not really. Well, you know what orthopedic shoes look like.
Yeah.
So
all right.
they're pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, so you
They're
just
not
want
attractive. They're not.
Yeah, you just want to wear shoes like everyone else.
Yes, that's all I wanted. But for year after year, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of doctors, and they just wouldn't get me out of my brace. They said, well, you're not going to get out of your brace, you're not going to get out of your brace, even though I was moving part of my foot. But they just wouldn't let me get out of my brace. But 5 years ago, when I came back from Virginia, because even in Virginia it's a lot of walking, and when I came back from Virginia, they had gotten me. Every single time I took a step at that time, my foot was on fire. Like literally, it was on fire, and I couldn't walk anymore. So I went to a doctor, and they tried fusing my foot. And if they fused my foot, I'd be able to wear normal shoes, but I could never really be better.
Right.
So I was crying, really upset like that, and they were like, well, let me send you to one more doctor to get one more brace. And that's when I met Brian. And his company, Cope, are amazing. And when I first met him, I was so uptight about anybody who tried giving me a brace. And so I looked at him when I went and I said, a brace isn't going to work for me. And he's like, let me see you walk. I looked at it like, no, a brace will not work for me. He's like, let me see you walk so I can see if a brace will work for you. And I was actually fighting him on just seeing me walk, because I just figured he's just another guy. Yeah. And then he looked at me after he saw me walk, and he's like, no, a brace isn't going to work for you. And I looked at him and said, no, I said a brace will not work for me, because I was just so used to
it. Right, exactly.
Which is something you see in the movies, but not something you think you actually do. So, but then he taped me on video to send the video of me walking to his friend in Florida, but he was at least trying, and he made me another brace just to see it. And so immediately, as soon as I got the brace, I walked a mile, and then I wanted to walk 2 or 3 though, and I tried going to 5, and then I went back to see him and I said, Brian, okay, is this supposed to hurt? And he's like, well, I don't think so you can't walk that much. And I was like, no, I'm not tired, it just has me, the brace is hurting me. And he's like, well, it's not supposed to be hurting you. So that's when he told me about this that I have on my foot, the walk aid. It's a electronic neurological system. Every single time I take a step, it comes on, shocks my muscles that are too weak to move themselves.
So it's actually firing the muscle to get to.
Yeah, and the first week.
So you're like animatronic.
Well, they actually have an arm out now that.
Yeah. I've seen that on like the news. So
but insurance won't pay for it, so it's kind of going away. Not going away, but they're not really. A lot of people aren't getting it. But the first weekend I got it, I walked on the sand that weekend.
Oh, that's so cool.
For the first time in 20 years, and then that weekend I went out and got my first pair of tennis shoes, and like Kaylee said, I'm wearing boots.
Yes.
And I can wear dress shoes now.
Yeah. Not just boots, like hot boots with buckles, and they're like, they're hot.
So they're nice boots, just, all right.
It's a girl thing. Whatever.
I'm sorry, I love to laugh.
That's okay. That's all right. So do we.
So the walking, it's been 5 years now since I got the walk aid, but like I mentioned, my therapist, Jake, he's awesome. He actually is working with Brian now and helping me. He's helping me to get out of my pattern, and I've even improved with that now. And so I'm walking a lot more even than I was 3 months ago, and I'm walking even better.
So going back to your inspirational speaking, if someone wanted to, that has maybe a friend or a family member that would need some motivational or organization, how do they get in touch with you?
I have my Facebook, my inspirational page. I also have my email, and then I also give out when I speak, I counsel people from my speeches too. So I also hand out my business cards, and I actually give them my phone number too.
All right. And we'll put that all up on the video as well, so that they'll have a way of contacting.
But the main thing is people contact me through my inspirational page, but all day long pretty much, or when I'm home, like you said, I'm very active. But when I'm home, I counsel people on Facebook. So they send me messages or something like that. So
that's wonderful. Well, with that, we're probably going to need to wrap up here pretty soon. So is there anything else you want to share with us? Any plans for the future? You want to write a book?
Yes.
And any other plans?
Just I want to help people with counseling them. I want more people to find out that they don't have to give up, that there is somebody who believes in them. So everywhere I go, I pretty much tell my story, even if they don't want to hear it or not. So.
No, I imagine they do.
And just to walk on my.
That's an amazing story. What you've gone through to what you are now, helping people.
And I just want to volunteer at my church more and get to know more people. I have a tendency to be shy. I know it doesn't seem like it, but in large groups or well, not large groups, but more like one-on-one. I have a tendency to be shy. So I want to try and get out of that. And so I guess it's pretty much.
Yeah.
And become closer to my family because I kind of lost a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships, because I was too busy working.
Yeah, I understand. Well, with that, we appreciate you coming here and telling us your story. It's a beautiful story. I mean, you've overcome a lot to be the person you are today.
And that's a beautiful person, for
yeah,
sure.
and thanks for sharing that story with us and our listeners and viewers. I appreciate it. We'll have to have you back on.
Absolutely.
Maybe when you get to writing the book.
Yeah.
And with
I'm already writing.
She's already, but when it's published, we're going to have you on here talking about it.
So with that, we'll say goodbye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Tiger Plumbing. Whether you need to replace a faucet, overhaul your sump pump, or desludge your drains, call Tiger Plumbing. In today's world, knowing who's at your door is important. Tiger Plumbing sends you your technician's photo, estimated time of arrival, and a little bit about him or her. Hey, Sam likes fishing and camping. Cool.